Hello everyone, this is China Paradigm, where we, Dashi Consulting, interview seasoned entrepreneurs in China.
Hello everyone, I'm Matthieu David, the founder of Dashi Consulting, a Chinese market research company based in Beijing, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. And today I am with Zhang Ying Fei. So I know you from actually interview we have done with Chinese students who want to apply for ESSEC Business School. So you were part of the jury, I was part of the jury, and you told me you are a psychological therapist. And at that time, I was thinking, I need to have therapists in the show because I think therapists in China should see China in a very different perspective as entrepreneurs are seeing China. And also, psychology is so different in China, certainly from Europe and from America. Let's look at it as it is. China has no Christian background, no Roman Greek background, not influenced by the philosophy of the Enlightenment. China has developed itself in its own environment, its own empire, its own way, with Confucian thinking, with very, very different ways. That has been true still the Kaifeng, the opening of China at the end of the 70s, but that's still true now. There is what we call in your podcast, a China paradigm, meaning that China in itself is very, very different. So thank you very much for being with us. I'm very excited to talk about this topic with you today. Could you tell us to begin with about how many years and how many patients, how many sessions, a bit of an idea of what you have done in this sector of psychology and what you do?
Okay, yeah. Actually, you mentioned this ESSEC party, and in fact, with those students, we were mainly talking about psychology at this event, because some students, as soon as they know that I'm a psychologist, I'm a therapist, they approach me and ask a lot of questions, and it's very interesting. So they also ask me, what are you doing? How long you have been doing like this? And yes, I'm a therapist since almost 20 years. I started when I was 20s, and at that time I was teaching in the school. I'm teaching psychology. Actually, this is a very rare in China because in the 1990s there's no psychological lesson in the school, and at that time, of course, we know students need to have like a student's guide or therapist or counselor, but there's no one doing this. So at the end of 1990s, the Education Bureau started to do some training for teachers, and I was one of them. So I was like one of these pioneers. And since then, I started working as a counselor.
I see.
Yeah.
So a few questions about in the end of 1990s, yeah. Which age and which schools, which city? Could you tell us more where you began?
Oh yeah, and I was just graduated from university, and my major was law and politics, which is actually not that close to psychology. And I was teaching a high school, one of the best high school. Do you want to know the name or maybe?
Which city?
In Shanghai.
Oh, in Shanghai. Okay. So one of the best schools in Shanghai, they already sought at that time to have a psychologist, therapist within, or at least to create this function, because you were not trained for that, right?
And in fact, it's not the school. It's actually the Education Bureau. This is something we don't say because each year there is some crisis, some students' crisis, like a suicidal, like attacking things happening, and the pressure of study. I think you stay in China long enough to understand that there's a lot of pressure of study of this Chinese baccalaureate, Gaokao. So students do need to have some people to talk about their issues, their problems, their pressures, but there's no one is doing that. So actually it's the government which see the needs, and they train some teachers, and I was like voluntarily, hey, I want to do that because I have a lot of interest by myself too. So actually I kind of switched my major.
I see.
and I studied for quite a lot of years. Then I decided to teach in a school and also being a school counselor. At that time, I don't call myself therapist because the case are comparatively lighter at that time. And I was working with teachers, working with parents, working with students, and for like more than 10 years. Then I quit my job. I quit my job because I feel like I would like to work more with adults, because more and more when I was with students, I feel a bit desperate because they are not the cause of the problem. They are just the consequence. Their problem are consequences, like the family pressure, the society giving this pressure, the whole environment. So I really want to work more with adults, with parents, with training teachers, and having sessions with their parents, and also giving training to some new psychologists, new therapists. I want to give training to them. And at that time, I already have all the certification which I need to work as a freelance, like the national psychological counseling certification, or let's say license. And I obtained this license in the year 2003. And then each year I get lots of training. Even now, after 20 years, I still spend a lot of money, time every year to get more trainings for myself, because this is like endless study. There's always something new happening, some new techniques, some new theories, some new trends. So I'm just like learning, and I want to teach more people. And now I'm doing supervision, something like this. So this is how my profession switched.
I see. Interesting. So one of the questions I think people listening to us will have is that how structured the profession is. What can be surprising is that you studied political science, law, and you begin your career as a psychologist, a therapist again. So how organized, how selective this profession is. In some way, you are touching to the brain of people, the soul of people, who they are, what they believe, what they see. And if someone with a background of engineer or whatever can be a therapist, then it can be a danger. On the other hand, it shows that there is a need. So I believe the government give authorization, is going to hire people where they can. So could you tell us more about the organization of the profession? Is it very well certified, very well organized, and can people trust therapists in China? How do you select a therapist based on degree? How can you make sure that it's very serious?
Yeah, okay. And at that time, like year 2001 and 2, our this in this country in China, we start having this license. We call that level 1, level 2, level 3 therapist. And I obtained level 2, but there's no level 1 at that time. I don't even know there's any level 1 by that time. So level 2 is already the highest level. And then there's level 3. And in order to obtain this license, of course, you need to have a long-term training, something like a year, 1 year or half a year. But according to me, that's really not enough. So anyone who passed this exam, who passed this test and obtained this license, I don't think automatically this person can work as a therapist, which is a pity. But at that time, one thing good is that you want to have this training, you need to have the background of education as educational background, or chemical background, or psychological background. Not the other thing like what you say, engineer, or let's say, yeah, something like this. So, but now I think it's not that strict. After year, there's more and more people want to obtain this license, these certificates. So they're kind of opening door to more people. Then after several years, when I becoming a teacher, a trainer of this test, I noticed there's a lot of like IT man or accountant, someone like this. But still, I must say, there's something to do with talents. Some people, they really have more talents. So how can we define that? How can we discover that? It's still through practicing. And what I do is I ask those students, why you want to learn psychology? Actually, 99% of them, they said, because I noticed I have some issue. And instead of looking for a therapist for themselves, they want to learn psychology. And I said, wow, but that doesn't make sense. You want to find a therapist, but now you want to become a therapist. Why is that? And people said, because it gives us the feeling that I'm controlling, that I can control the things. But again, no, when you are learning, actually you're not receiving this service. So actually the result is 90% of them will not be therapists in the end. Even if they have these certificates, they're not going to be the therapist. And who can really be the therapist? According to what I observed, is those people, they are really determined to be therapists. And so they have to sacrifice many things, the time, their current job, because it's not that good if you do part-time job as a therapist. So you have to quit a job to be a full-time therapist. And that means the income, the revenue is not really guaranteed. So you need to be financially quite independent and quite prepared to be a therapist. Being a therapist is not to make a lot of money, because at the beginning, you can only charge something like 200 kwai, 300 kwai, not that much for 1 hour. Mm-hmm. And then slowly you can charge a bit more, but it will take years. And the investment of money to do training for yourself is really huge. Let's say something like 100,000 per year is actually normal. But if you don't do this investment, if you don't have training, or if you don't have supervision, then you are not going to be a good therapist, because we have many, many things to work on ourselves. We have many things to learn. So eventually, what I see, all these good or stable or reliable therapists, they are qualified with certificates, knowledge backgrounds, their own work, their personal work, individual work. As a client, they have been treated, or they see their therapist, me too, and they have supervision. They have constantly a lot of series of trainings. So that's the way. If any of your friends want to find a therapist, you can tell them to ask how many hours this therapist is working already. Does this person has a supervision? Does this person spend a lot of time ongoing training, something like this? Yeah.
You talked a lot about training. What kind of training are you talking about, costing 100,000 RMB per year? Is it going to a school? Is it online? Is it your own training yourself? Is it with your supervisor that you need to pay? Could you explain more about the training environment of therapists in China?
Yeah, actually, what you said is covered most of them already. There is an institution that you can get lesson, some quite formal lesson. Yeah, by the way, there's one information that 2 years ago, this level 1, level 2, level 3 and certificate is already cancelled, which is a very big, I don't know how to say it's attack or hurt this field or not, but there's no more certificates that you can obtain immediately. You said, I'm a therapist. So now, actually, it's the university, psychiatric hospital, some institution, and even some therapists themselves can offer trainings. And we also have a lot of university, they will invite experts, specialists to give training for those people who want to improve their professional skills. So there's a lot. And online, yes, there's online lesson. There is workshops. There's some lecture, conference, seminar. There's many, many different forms of training. And it's like the whole menu. And according to what you need, you can select, like, I have a lot of time, then I can take part in a long-term training. Like, for example, from the year 2011 to 2014, I took a 3 years training. 3 years training about self-psychology, which is not full-time, but part-time training during 3 years. And now I am still in a class of 3 years training of body focusing, trauma focusing training, which is taught by my supervisor, a brother and a sister therapist from Canada. It's also part-time training. So there's many things we can get actually in a given training.
In order to make sure the therapist has enough background, are they within an institution? Are they linked to an hospital? Are they linked to a university? Because we know that doctors have to be in hospital in China. It's not like in the West where you can have your private company and so on and actually treat people. Is it similar for psychologists, for therapists, or it's more independent here? It's more free. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Actually, because we don't have this certificate test and exam anymore, so then who can give this authority? Like, who can give a person who wants to be the therapist this authority? And now what I can see is that we have 3 powers, exactly like what you say: the university, the hospital, and let's say the social therapist, the therapist in society. Okay, let's say in the university, they have the psychological department, and they also have some psychological center. And some people, they stay in the university because there's a lot of resources, doing research, having lesson, blah, blah, blah. But they don't really face the whole society. Like their clients are not paying that much, or the case are not that complicated or so deep, but really they can do a lot of research. So there are a lot of professors, teachers in the university. They want to set a standard, like this is the standard of being a therapist. But in a psychiatric hospital, there's doctors. Those doctors, in a psychiatric hospital, there's a very huge debate, like how can we treat the patients? We give them a pill or we talk. Less than 10% of the doctors will talk because they're way too busy. I have a lot of psychiatrist friends because we need to work sometimes, cooperate with each other. They see their patients like every day, 30, 40 patients, and they can give them only 5 to 8 minutes per person, per patient. So they can't really offer this service of talking. And then they have their standard in another way. But I am like one of these therapists who's working for the open society. Some people, even professors, teachers, even psychiatrists, some of them quit their job, becoming freelance, becoming a therapist, a freelance therapist, or they work not as a freelance, but they work, they form this agent or company. It's like a platform. Then we work together. But we are not having this standard like in university, not like in the hospital. We have our own standard. And those 3 powers, 3 standards are actually not that agreeable to each other. So in the future, for example, if you want to be a Chinese therapist, you will go through some tests, some exams, some training. Given by whom? Given by hospital or university or by some institution, then maybe you will have different kind of certificates.
I see.
And I think the whole market is now a little bit chaos.
Yes, yes.
And the patients or the clients, they have actually no way to know who is this therapist coming from. And that's why I always told my clients, if you want to find a therapist, or if your friend, your family want to find a therapist, I can help. I can help. Yeah, so I'm hoping for the future that really we can have a much clear, let's say, règle, the rules, law, can really separate the market, the training market, the therapy market. Then it will be clearer.
When you say institution, is it private institution or public? Is it by the government?
Private.
Private, okay.
Yeah,
I see.
There's a lot of things run by government. The school is run by government. The hospital is run by government. But when I say this company, they are all private.
I see. No, let's talk about now what you see in the Chinese society.
Yeah.
As we agreed before we talked, and as an introduction, China and the West have very different cultural roots, very different perception of the body, very different perception of society, very different perception of the commitment you have to take the three principles of the Confucian thinking, the commitment you have toward your parents, the commitment you have toward your husband or wife, or the commitment you have to the emperor at the time, let's say the society now, or let's say it's to authority, generally speaking. Could you mention a couple of topics, or a few topics, that you feel are very China-specific compared to the West, or that you see much more in China than in the West in terms of psychological issues, difficulties, or challenges? Or maybe you're going to tell us it's very similar. What's your perception in terms of the differences?
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of Western friends, and my husband, he's a Western guy. So, and also he has his own therapist. He's doing some therapy for a short time because I guess he's experiencing some middle age crisis things. And according to what I know, that Chinese people really do care a lot about the group, the collective environments, and the family. The Chinese people don't see themselves as one individual, like a hero walking in this world. They always see a group of people, so they kind of comparing themselves to others. And being accepted or not is very, very important. Being accepted means accepted by your family, your company, by the friends group. And the Chinese people tend to really alter themselves or suppress themselves in order to satisfy others, by really sacrifice a lot of their true feeling. And this is something what I can see quite different. And the root, I don't know what is the root. I guess it's because we have different concepts of loneliness. Because loneliness can be creative, can be a space that you can create yourself, your own identity. But Chinese people have problem of being lonely. We are not used to be lonely. Like when you see that a child are not really alone in China. The kids are always with parents. What I can see in the Western country is very little kid, young baby, new baby, can be put aside and the adults are talking. The parents are talking, having their adult life. But in China, no. The kids are in the center. And as soon as there's a kid, all the eyes are just looking at the kid and there's no normal conversation can just going on. And then the kid is especially combines with the single child policy, then this child is the center of the center. And when you receive so many attention is energy. When you used to get so many energy by attention, then it's painful to not having that anymore when you grow up.
Mm-hmm.
So when people grow up and when they have to be alone, they are so eager to grasp some relationship immediately, and in order to have attention again, that causes a series of problems. Like in school, feeling lonely, it's a shame. And in the working environment, people also like to be in groups, and then they don't share their real idea or opinion. They are like nodding, okay, yes. And my mother used to tell me when I was a high school student or middle school student, she said, you always say your opinion directly. You think the other people, they don't know it? Maybe everybody know it, they just don't say it. So maybe you don't have to say it in order to be safe. So otherwise I will be like excluded, then I have to be alone. But honestly, I'm okay, maybe partly because I was not really growing up with my parents, so I didn't get that much attention on me. So when I say this, the society, the powers, yes, you can say it's a Confucius philosophy that we are not an individual, we are a part of this. We are part of this construction, the whole construction, that you are a party, you're just a part. And there's a father, then there's husband. If you have children, there's children. As a woman, you give yourself to this family, you're just a part of that. As a man, you give yourself to this society because you're part of that. You are never really, like in those American films, a lonely hero.
Mm. So you mentioned about this concept of group and individual hero or within group. What is socially valued in China? What do you see in China which is socially valued by the society, or people feel it's valued by society, which is not in the West, or vice versa? It's valued in the West but not in China. For instance, in the West, someone who is right against the society, right against everyone, but actually he's right, he knows the truth, or he made things, but alone, like a hero, is going to be socially valued. Is going to be the hero. So what is the hero in China? What is the what people think of when they want to do good, when they want to be the one who is socially valued, respected? What do they have in mind? To be very accepting in the group, so to be actually with no conflict, to go along with everyone. What do they have in mind in terms of social image?
I think hero, this word is not that much mentioned in China, because a hero is usually like a single person doing something. But since here, we don't consider ourselves a single person. So harmony is more our value. Being in peace, not in conflicts, not in a crisis, is more our value. When I say our value, it doesn't mean that this is my value, because I'm working as a therapist, and my personality is not really like that. But of course, I grow up here, and I take some part of this. And I can see that so many people, they try to avoid conflicts. And like what you say, truth is truth. Even if I create or I confront the conflict, because I want to maintain the truth, I want to defend the truth, that's worthy, right? But in China, we will say, if you can have a more peaceful way, more like twisted way, more clever way, wiser way, to let people eventually know the truth. We don't mind how long time it will take, but it's not that important that you see the truth and you show the truth. More important thing is you make everybody slowly, gradually can understand. And the whole process, it's better to be harmony. It's better to be calm and peaceful.
In what you say, I already see some conflicts, meaning that you say that as a child, the child is attracting the eyes of the entire family, but when he grows as older child and adult, he has to conform to the group. He has to agree with to go well with the group and not to be the one with attracting the eyes of everyone outside the family. First thing. Second thing, you say that harmony, peace, going along with everyone is a big matter. On the other hand, we're in a society which is very competitive. I think it's very assessed, very well known that the Chinese society is a very competitive society. At school, at work, even some private life, when you see at people how much exercise, how much they want to look good, they want to be smart, and so on. So I see already some conflict. Could you tell more about the conflicts you see among your patients? Why are they conflicted by? What are their topics? Why do they meet with you?
Okay. I have really more than half of my clients are working on themselves, like they are depressed or they have some physical issues, but slowly can always discover that they have the problem of leaving family to, or let's say, quit their family. So I was very curious. I sometimes ask them, when you're a kid, which kind of kid you are? Many of them will say, I was a very nice kid. Boy or girl, same. I was a very quiet kid. Oh, so you were not naughty? No, I'm not that naughty. My parents were very satisfied with me. Okay, so when you were a teenager, which kind of teenager you were? Did you have this rebellion age, like whatever your parents say, you don't want to listen? Not really. I was this quiet teenager. I don't feel I need to fight against my parents. And then when they become a young man, young woman, or they become parents, or they become employees in a company, or then when they reach this middle age, they feel no, there's something wrong, and they don't feel fine. Why? Because they have never really fight against the powers. What is the powers? The powers is like the parents' influence, the social influence. They had never really say no to that. So you're right. Eventually, they will have the conflicts. But because they were so not used to in their growing path, in their early years, they're so not used to. So when they had to confront these conflicts, they were very horrified, very uncomfortable, and feeling guilty, feeling very bad. And so I will ask them, how about your parents? Do they allow you? Some parents, they also never really fight against the bigger power. Like last time we were talking about our history, we have these bigger powers, and our bigger powers are not really having conversation with individuals, not having conversation with people. Like on our TV show, there was never any debating. There is more information giving. That's like a way of parenting, right? So basically, Chinese people, more or less, are all like children. We have been told, we have been taught, we have been ordered, but it's not that you can say no to some bigger power. And hence, in the family, it's the same. When I was young, when I was little, sometimes when my father will say, why should I explain to you? I don't need to explain to you. You just listen. It's because I'm the father. And I can hear so many of these kind of sentences from my clients. So yes, if you can't really confront the power of your parents, then teachers, then boss, then the whole world. And people can't really believe that through conflicts, there can be an equal relationship built afterwards. What they can see is the relationship will be broken, will be gone. This attachment will be damaged. It will be destroyed. So they have this horror of facing conflicts because they don't see after that, after the war, there will be some new possibility coming. And this is mainly what I'm working with my clients, sometimes even through our conflicts. I sometimes stimulate them or encourage them to say no to me, to say their disagreement to me. And when they say that, wow, their physical the reaction was like, I'm very nervous. I don't feel well. I say, yes, come on. You know how happy I am to hear that, because that means you want to have a long-term relationship with me. That means you trust me. That means you support yourself. That's beautiful. But in their past, they never have anyone encourage them to challenge. So that will cause a lot of problem in the future. And even between a couple, husband and wife, some relationships are not equal. And the wife, mainly wife, few husbands, mainly wife, they don't know how to say their disagreement with the husband. I don't want to go holiday to there. I don't want to buy this. I don't want our children to go to this school. No, they can't. As if they don't have the right to say it. And then they really suffer.
In the current situation where social media is so important, how do you feel that social media is playing in this with those conflicts and parameters? So many people are actually trying to attract the eyes of people through social media, or on Douyin, on moments on WeChat and so on. How do you think it's impacting them here in China, and how is it in conflict with the fact they have to conform? Because if you want to be seen, you have to be exceptional, you have to be individual, you have to be unique. On the other hand, you may be actually extracted from the group if you are too unique or too individual. Do you see some conflicts with social media? Do you see that your patients have issues with social media? With it could be WeChat, could be Douyin, could be Weibo. Is it a topic?
Yeah, okay. With this question, I immediately have 3 or 4 points I want to say. I just hope I can do that. First, what we show, is that really us? That's a question. What we show can represent a real us. This social media, yes, we chat, Weibo, and of course we don't use Facebook and YouTube that much, but we have Douyin, we have some other things. Actually, what people show, I don't think mainly themselves, the true self. What I am working with my clients are more and more to see the true self. What is the true self? For some very weak person, maybe they have a strong themselves, the strong inner self. For some people, some tough businessman or successful person, maybe they have their vulnerability. And showing this to friends, to a family, showing this mainly to themselves is a very brave thing, can bring them health, can bring them this healthy life and a healthy relationship. But still, many people, they're not able to. So those social medias, I think it's even somehow extremely brought out this, let's say, the false face, the face I want people to see me. But what is true me? What is real me? They can still hide behind those social face. So that's the one point. And the extreme case will be some of my clients, they are addicted to plastic surgery. They do plastic surgery. They have injection of something, I don't know in English the name, just, get rid of their wrinkles. They can do this injection like once every few weeks. And one of my clients told me that every time when I feel blue, when I feel upset, I do that, and immediately, even my boyfriend noticed that I feel better. Why? And then if you see her WeChat moments, you will just see this doll, this plastic doll face. Of course, she thinks that's beauty. And this social media sometimes really encouraged or pushing people to show more this false face. That's my point. But of course, about opinions, some people in social media, when they show their opinions, wow, that can cause some conflicts Like, I agree with this, I don't agree with this. Even some comments about the movie star, even some comments about some games can create some conflicts or some debating, arguing. Then there's another thing is the social, the media violence. That is people really talking about what they really want to say? Are they really sharing information, opinion, ideas, or they're simply releasing their anger and just showing their emotion? I think this is a universal thing, that when you're behind this computer, you say whatever you say, and it's, again, not showing themselves. It looks like a conflict on appearance. It looks like, okay, I'm fighting, I'm having conflicts or crisis with people. But no, again, it's purely the emotion control thing, that you don't control this emotion, then you use some violent words, and eventually what is the result? What is coming out? So that's the second point. And the third point is, even by social media, if you really want to show your opinion, it's not that safe sometimes. It's not that allowed according to the whole environment. Sometimes your opinion will be censored or something like that. So I guess people can be frustrated. They kind of showing themselves in this extremely way, or to just show these emotions, partly they don't have to touch the real opinion. And what is lack in this society is opinions from individual, which can only coming from matured and more have self-aware person. And we don't really have enough this person.
So those patients who are meeting with you because they are not satisfied with their body, and you told me before we started the podcast that one of your topic you often cover with your patients is about the awareness of the body, how to be fine with your body. So you said that you had a lot of patients doing plastic surgery. What are the motivations behind changing their body? Is it to be accepted by society? Is it to be successful at work? Is it to find someone to be with? Because we know that that's another topic we may talk about. Leftover woman has been a very, very well covered actually topic over the last few years by documentaries, by even brands. We have used this topic to enhance their products. So what are the motivations behind changing their body, and what do they do to change their body? Plastic surgery, sport, exercise, over-exercising, maybe medicine. So first, what do they do? And second, what are the motivations behind it?
Okay, I can't say I have a lot of clients doing plastic surgery. I said I have met several. And yes, there's many motivations. Very clearly you can say they want to be prettier. They want to be prettier because they want to be more popular, they want to be more welcomed, and to be more attractive. Like mostly girls, they believe that they are not that successful in relationship is partly because they're not pretty enough. They are, let's say, more or less materialized themselves that our body is a weapon and our body is a tool, which is something I totally against. I totally can't agree with. And then they can believe that men, that's also really an insulting of men. They believe that men just look at face and the size of bosoms, the shape. Men are this kind of animal, can only feel women attractive because of this physical thing. So that's one of the motivation. But this motivation is just one part. Another motivation I can see is that they simply hate themselves. They simply have this self-hating or self-ignorance. And that's due to this family background. They were not really being accepted or loved or cared by parents, especially by father, because this is the men and women thing. And many of them, they have very bad relationship with the father, or the father were like invisible. Father were, let's say, absent. So in order to, there's a lot of dynamic behind that, because the mother can't keep the father. Okay, I want to keep my father. How can I keep my father? I need to be seen. How can I be seen? I need to be pretty. Okay, I need to be so pretty that my father can come back because I'm this lovely little girl. But I was not that lovely, so I need to change myself. But there's also combines a lot of self-hating by, okay, I'm pretty, my mother's not. The whole identity they can get from the parents more or less very confusing, because we will consider the mother as a model. But doing plastic surgery means somehow betraying this mother. I want to be a prettier woman than my mother, so my mother is not someone I can learn from. It's like a betraying, and it can, we can't avoid that it will create some inner crisis, inner conflicts. And how to manage that? Then we go on more surgeries. So there's the third level of the fear of losing control, because the world is not controllable. My family is not controllable. My life, my relationship is not controllable. The only thing I can control is I can do plastic surgery. I can have a nose, the shape of the nose I want. I can have this front I want. I can have these eyes changed. So it's more like the body is the last piece of thing that I can control by myself. So if I see a client in this level, I will understand how chaotic her life can be, how controlless, powerless this person can be. No matter how much money she can earn, no matter how high status she can obtain, it doesn't matter. It's just the inner world is already a mess. So when you say this motivation, I think it's something like this.
So as a difference I'm already seeing between the West and in China, I feel the West is much more obsessed of being natural or being close to their roots, being close to what they are really, instead of conforming to an ideal of yourself in terms of body and in terms of what you are known for. And in China, people would change themselves, would more be eager to change their body, change themselves, or conform to the society, to the group, to change themselves to conform to the group. Would you agree with this statement? Do you think it's one of the differences? What kind of differences would you conclude between the West and East and China?
I can't totally agree with that, because I do have some Western clients. They are also obsessed on the beauty, especially, let's say, the West Coast of America. I have some clients from there, and my clients said that, I'm from Florida. I need to be pretty. I will not be accepted if I'm not pretty, because everybody are so nice, so pretty. And on Facebook, I need to show that I'm fine. And also, this person will say, I can't show my vulnerability to my family, to my close friends. So yes and no. No, because I also have some Chinese people, my friends, including me, myself, I guess. I really, you can use the words obsessed of being natural. But yes, because if you see the way we talk with people, Chinese people, or let's say Asian people like Japanese, Korean, we were more like hiding our instant emotions, our current emotions, as if the emotion can't be really shown at that moment. We need to stay with a calm, peaceful face, because this is appropriate. This is more appropriate according to what we have been taught. And Western people, they're like showing more, yeah, oh, that's bullshit. Blah, 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 blah. So,
I see. We're in a society, China, where actually some Westerners who are not living in China may not know it, but the rate of divorce is pretty high. Actually, women have been very involved in economy and very independent since 1949 compared to other countries that it has been faster. And Simone de Beauvoir is very famous. So you have a concept of feminism, of being independent, which is some way very well spread, well known. But on the other hand, what you are describing is not to be independent, is to conform to the group, is to change your body, to be seen more as for the appearance than actually who you are. And actually, as Simone de Beauvoir was saying, you are not born a woman, you become a woman. And actually, that's exactly that. When you do plastic surgery, when you change your body, it's to become the ideal woman or the ideal man. Maybe we didn't talk a lot about men. How do you see those conflicts? On one side, a lot of freedom. Divorce rate is actually high. I think in some cities like Shanghai, it's like half of marriage would end in divorce, same as in France. And on the other hand, you are talking about a lot of constraints for individuals.
yeah, that's really interesting. In fact, I read Beauvoir's book. I like it very much when I was in the college, university. I love that very much. And I have some clients in a couple therapy. When the women come, actually they have money. They have good job. If they want to get divorced, they can also have money. But I discovered that the main reason why they stay in a marriage, in an uncomfortable, not satisfying marriage, is for one reason, that they don't want to be a divorced woman. Then how about a man becoming a divorced man? It sounds okay. It sounds quite okay in this society. A divorced man can still very easily get married. But a divorced woman is very, very difficult, especially when a divorced woman with child. And I talked with my Western friends, and they said, wow, a single mother is charming. A single mother can be attractive. I don't mind to date with a single mother, and to be the father of her child is okay. So I don't know, it's a social thing or it's an individual thing. But in China, for men to date with a woman who has a child, it's like, hey, you're mine, and we are going to have children, and your child is not my child. So still we have, maybe you can also say it's Confucius philosophy, that the family name, the blood, is very, very important. So a divorced woman will dramatically decrease the value, as I hate to say that, the value in this the marriage market. That's horrible. And there will be this family pressure. And also for not married women, and I also hate to use the word leftover woman or leftover girl. This not married, like between 28 to 38, 40, 50, this age, the women, they also were struggling. On one hand, they are really, many of them are quite successful. They earned their life. They move out from the parents' home. They're working in a company. They can make money. But as long as they're not married, they are failure in the family's eyes. the parents will not be that happy to see what they have achieved. They will just say, yeah, it's just a pity that you can't find someone to look after you. Even if the girl said, I don't need someone to look after me, I can look after myself. Yeah, you say so, but it's not that good. So I have these clients coming. So your question is like, why? There's an open-minded philosophy, ideas, this movement coming on in the world, but why Chinese women are still like that? I will say Shanghai is already much, much better than other provinces. Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou. You can imagine, how many gay, how many lesbian coming to Shanghai, to those big cities, just because they can finally escape from the social pressure. Because here, you can at least get some freedom. You can be yourself. You can be who you are. It's really already quite better than other provinces, but still their inner conflicts are still there, especially this guilt. Like my parents, they're waiting for having grandchildren, and my parents are waiting for me to take care of them. The parents' needs always go, I don't say the first, but the priority is always very high. And that's something very, very special in Asia, in China, Korea, Japan, but not in Western country. My father-in-law, he's living alone, and in Biarritz, and we're not going to visit him all the time. I actually just see him once a year, but he still loved me very much. He loved me like, every time you're coming, I'm so happy. And he's not really grasped and taking the children. He can have his own life, and his happiness is that you can have your own life in a happy way, but not Chinese parents.
It's going to be 1 hour, and we talk a lot about women. What are the topics that men are bringing to you, or maybe most of your patients are women? I don't know. But what do you see among men? If some of your patients are men, what psychological issues, what difficulties do they face in the Chinese society?
Yeah, and it's not because I see women more than men. It's actually because there's much more women coming for psychological counseling and therapy. I would say like 70-80% of the clients are women. And men are not that easy to come, because that's actually the problem. This is the problem, because men are not so easy to see that they need help. And mostly, as soon as a man, after several therapy, they admit that they need help too, they also want to have someone listening to them, and they can show their vulnerability. And if they can really get that, they will feel much, much better. So let's say that a man should be tough. A man should be strong. A man should just manage his own emotion. This kind of sterile case is really hurting men very much too. So that's one of the main issue for men, that they can't be themselves. I never believe that man is purely a man. I mean, for gender, we have a biological gender for male and female, but inside of us, everybody have male part and female part, masculine and feminine. We have these two parts. And for women, we dare not to show our male part. And for men, it's so hard to show their female part, which is a pity. And I'm very glad to know that some of my clients, a university student, a boy, he said, in my dormitory, we use facial masks sometimes. A group of men using facial masks, which is nice, which is so funny. Why not? So I think that the young generation can change a little bit, that they can welcome more their feminine part. And another main issue for men is that they have the conflicts and unfinished conflicts with the family, with the society. But as a man, they need to be themselves. They need to have their own identity. They need to completely becoming them. And there's not really a lot of model they can find. Like you said, in Western country, in the films, there's a hero. They're a hero. But to becoming an individual, here we don't have that much model they can learn from. And usually, because Chinese father, I can't say all of them, but many Chinese fathers are so absent, even if physical present, but emotional quite absent. So they can't have the connection with the father very well. And because of the only child policy, I can see there's a lot of family pattern that the mother is not very satisfied with the father. And like we just said, a woman are not going to leave this marriage. They're not going to divorce. So they stay in the marriage. And how? They complain in front of their son. They catch the son, they were like crying and, oh, I'm not happy, and your father's like this, your father like that. Then the son becoming the supporting pillar of the mother, or replace the father's place, but this is the son. And then it creates again the problem, who they are. They are the mother's baby, they are the good son. But then they will feel super guilty to leave mother aside. And they don't really able to understand the father because they don't even have some conversation. So that will be, another problem. And also the economic, the financial situation, that in this society is like, if you are dating a girl, it should be the man pay the bill. So men have a much more financial pressure, economic pressures than a girl. If you want to have a wife, you want to have a girlfriend, you need to pay for the holiday, pay for the bijou, the jewelry, pay for the apartment, pay for the meal, pay for many things, which is really very, very heavy for men. So many men, they just stay. Yesterday, one of my clients, a boy, said, oh, recently I found a girl I really have interest with. I said, okay, then you're going to date her? No, it's too tiring. Yes, I know I have interest, but it's so tired. I just don't want to do that. I'm so tired. I just want to be in my own cocoon. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. As a conclusion, I feel, and I think we will have to end soon. But one of the conclusions I learned from what we just said is that I feel that the issues in between in China and the West are, for it's say 70%, 80% similar, but there is a question of degree, to which extent it is deep or not. Do you agree with this vision? That actually it's more a level of degree, but the fact that the image of society to you is also a topic in the West. Yeah. It's very, very similar, in fact. It's but just a degree maybe, or that is, it may be different with different level of freedom and independence, individual freedom, independence, intellectual freedom.
Yeah. Let's have this image of two trees. There's one apple tree. There's one pear tree or something like that. Okay, and when the trees are growing, and then they are quite close, because now with the social media, people can see this outside world very easily. So when these two trees are growing up, their leaves, their branches can touch each other. Sometimes even the fruits can touch each other. They can go cross and mix with each other. That's the similarity we can see from Western country and the Chinese country. But the roots are different. The seed are different. So I'm waiting for, like, in the next generation, when the apple tree and the pear tree growing up, then the fruits can falling down, then their seeds can mix. That can be more similar. But now Chinese people see the Western world, and we can learn about Western people see Chinese word too. Like you do Zen, you serve tea, you like this Chinese element in your clothes, something like this. That's all the branches crossing to each other. Yeah, and we can have a lot of communication, a lot of dialogues, but still there are some roots. And the frustration part for many of the Chinese students or young people is that they are kind of growing so high, and they can enter as a pear tree, they can enter in this apple tree, but their roots are still here. There's something they can't move. The family, the atmosphere, the values, the expectation from the parents, some solid mindset, they can't really shake and change. So that make the whole tree very tired, quite tired.
Zhang Ying Fei, thank you very much for taking the time today. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I hope as well everyone listening to us liked the talk. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's my pleasure.